Hi students, welcome back on Study Note. So continuing our chapter of economics, the story of village Palampur, we are on part 2 of the chapter, which is farming in Palampur. Let's see what is the process that is followed by farmers of Palampur and what is the pattern that is being used for farming. Okay. First thing is, our very first point is around 75% of people in Palapur are dependent on farming for their livelihood. Okay, so 75% people are involved in agriculture in Palampur. Okay, these people are either they are farmers, means they have their own land where they do farming, or they are farm laborers, means they are hired to work on a particular farm. Okay, so either they are farmers or they are farm laborers. Okay, the well-being of farmer is dependent on the yield produced by the farm, means the income of a farmer is depend upon the yield, means the crop that has been produced by the farm. Whatever the crop has been produced, however it is the source of income for the farmer. This is our second point. This is like, this is the pattern of most of the villages of India. So most Indian villages, farming is the main source of production. Next point is land is fixed. Next point is land is fixed. Now, to increase production under farming, basic requirement is of more land. So obviously, when you are farming, you require a land, okay, where you can farm. So this was biggest constraint for farmers to have a proper land, a cultivated land where they can farm. Okay, so the land under the cultivation is fixed and has not changed since 1916, 1960s in Palampur. This is same as the case of for rest of India. Okay, so Palampur is a very imaginary village, but it is inspired from all the villages from India. Okay, which means that the area which has once been decided as the land area for cultivation is fixed from 1960s. Okay, next point is, by turning wasteland into cultivable land, some more areas were added under land for cultivation, but this was limited. Now, what is a wasteland? Wasteland is basically a land which is not being taken by any private company, or it's basically a government land which is used as cultivable land, which has been converted into cultivable land so that more production, more crops can be grown. All right. Now, I have very fun question for you. It's a brainstorming question, so you'll have to put your brain in it. This is the standard unit of measuring land is hectare. Okay, so the standard unit of measuring land is hectare, which is equal to a square of side 100 meter. Okay, it is equal to a square of side 100 meter. But there are local units like biga, gunitha, etc. Find out the local unit in your area. Find out the measuring unit that is being used in your area for measuring the land. Is it hectare? Is it biga? It will be fun to know. Moving on, we have ways to grow more from the same land. Okay, so now as we discussed, we have same land, it is fixed land. Now, what are the ways we can from which we can grow more in the same land? Okay, as land is fixed in Palampur, we know that we need to learn about the methods, okay, through which we can grow more in the same area. Okay, so there are a few methods, few cultivative techniques that can be applied, through which, in the same area, production can grow more. Let's look into some of these techniques. So, the very first we have multiple cropping. Multiple cropping is a type of a method. Okay. Now, to increase the production, farmers use multiple cropping. Multiple cropping means growing more than one type of crop on a piece of land. Okay. So, the land is same. For example, as you can see in picture as well. So, this land is same, but there is not single type of crop that is being sown here. There are more than one type of crop that is being sown. Okay, so this is a common way of increasing production throughout Indian villages. Okay, so this is our first way. As an example, so let's study this in detail. Okay, and let's study through some instances about multiple cropping. Okay, during rainy season for farmers and for farming, it is called kharif. Farmer grow jowar and bajra. They grow jowar and bajra. This is followed by potato cultivation in the months of October to December, from last 15 to 20 years. Okay, so first we have kharif crop. And what do farmers grow in this crop? In kharif crop, it is jowar and bajra. Okay, these two crops. Jowar, majorly jowar and bajra. Next, we have rabi crops. Kharif is known as for a crop of rainy season. Okay, so it's rainy season. Next, we have rabi crop. Rabi crop is for winter season, and farmers majorly sow wheat. Okay, so major supply from rabi is of wheat. Yes, this is of wheat. Okay. So for wheat, most of the farmers keep supply for themselves, and they sell the surplus supplies. Surplus supply here means surplus means extra supply. Okay, so whatever the extra wheat they have grown, they sell it to the market. Okay, here in the case of Palampur, they sell it to the market at Raiganj. Okay. Now, a part of land is also devoted to sugar cane. Now, next point is a part of land is also devoted to sugar cane. Okay, every year, which is its so sugar cane is a raw material. It's a raw form of jaggery. Okay, so sugarcane is the raw form, or as jaggery we know as, and this is being sold to traders of Shahpur. Okay, this is being sold to traders of Shahpur so that they use in their manufacturing sectors, right? So now you see what different activities this everything that generates. So it's a everything is so connected with each other. The second way to do so is irrigation. Yes, irrigation. So irrigation is basically irrigation system is a well developed system, and it is very required, very necessity for agriculture. Okay. Irrigation basically means watering the plants. As you can see, it means watering the plants to foster their growth. Okay, if when we water them, their rate of growth becomes high. They will grow very quickly. Okay, so Palampur has well developed electricity. That's why it has well developed irrigation system as well. So irrigation again a very important factor of growing more from the same land. Here we have an ancient fact, which is Persian wheel have been replaced by electric run tube wells. Earlier, there used to be a wheel through which water supply used to be delivered to the plants, but now we have electric run tube wells, which can irrigate at much larger scale, okay, as pretty visible from the picture. By mid 1970s, the entire cultivated area of 200 hectares were irrigated. Okay, so 200 hectares of land was irrigated through this system. So you can wonder how effective this system is. Okay, the total cultivated land in area in India is less than 40% is irrigated. Okay, so whatever the total land, cultivable land India has, less than 40% is only being able to irrigate. Now let's understand why is that so. What is the reason of the of irrigation being irrigation percentage being so less? So the riverine plains or the coastal plains have well irrigated areas. Okay, so parts which have rivers or the crops which are along rivers. So this is the crop and this is the river. So these are called riverine plains. So riverine plains and coastal areas have a well irrigated system. But the plateau region means the land region, where groundwater is being used for irrigation, uh, it does not have well irrigated system there. Okay, Deccan Plateau has lowest level of irrigation because water supply is very less there. That's why Deccan Plateau has low level of irrigation. Most of other areas largely depend upon rainfall. Yes, for majorly in our country, for irrigation purpose, uh, many forests, many villages depend upon rainfall because irrigation system is not developed there. That is why irrigation is very important. Now I have a fun brainstorming question for you. Why is it important to increase area under irrigation? Why do you think it's important to increase the area under irrigation? Think of the problems which the country faces because of low irrigation level. Why do you think it's important to increase the area under irrigation? Is it just because of increasing the amount of production? Yes, it is. Think of the problem which country faces because of low irrigation levels. The production, crop production will always be less in the areas where the irrigation level is low. Okay. Moving on to our next method, which is method number 3, modern farming method. Okay, this is third point, modern farming method. Now, from where this modern farming method has developed, let's understand that. So earlier there used to be traditional farmers um, which used traditional seeds. Okay, so they used to use traditional seeds which require less irrigation. Okay, so which require less irrigation and also gave poor yields. Okay, poorer yields means less production. Okay, so yields basically means the amount of production. So it gives less production. Now, they used cow dung as natural fertilizer. Cow dung, it's known as natural fertilizer, which was readily available, means which was very easily available for the farmers, but not valuable for increasing yields or increasing production. Okay, so it was available, but it was not valuable. So that's why there was the need to switch to another method for farming, um, through which production can be increased. So we switch to the green revolution. Here comes green revolution in 1960s, which included measurements to increase the production. So let's understand in detail what is green revolution and how it has helped. So, Green Revolution is followed by the introduction of HV, HYV seeds. Okay, so HYV seeds are high yielding variety of seeds which is introduced for the cultivation of majorly two crops, which are rice and wheat. High yielding variety of seeds were majorly followed for two crops, which are rice and wheat. So this was for rice and wheat cultivation only, okay, which led to greater amount of production. Okay, so the production number has been increased due to HYV seeds. Okay, for the same piece of land. So it's not that they have introduced new land for this, it was they have introduced new type of seed for this purpose. Okay, and this seed required more input, chemical fertilizers and pesticides, okay, for better production. In Palampur, the yield of wheat went to 3,200 kg per hectare, which was earlier used to be just 1,300 kg. So there were now, abundance of surplus wheat to sell in the market because the production has been increased. Okay. So let's understand more detail about HYV seeds and about its history. HYV seeds were first used by the farmers of Punjab, okay, Haryana, and Western Uttar Pradesh. So it was as an experiment being used in three major states, which is Punjab, Haryana, and Western Uttar Pradesh. The farmer brought large farm machineries like tractors and threshers for plowing and harvesting. So this was the input that required for the green revolution for sowing of HY V seeds. Okay. Now, let's understand a green revolution more. Green revolution comes at a point in India where it was most required in our country. So the need of green revolution was most required as there was the need to change the farming pattern that has been followed in our country. So so first thing which happened with green revolution is it doubled the production. Okay, as we have seen in the case of Palampur, where it has to be just 1,300 kg of wheat that used to sow, now it has come to 3,200. Okay, so it just doubled the production. It gives more food security. High yield variety seeds is there. Poverty alleviation. Poverty elevation means completely shutting down to poverty. Now they have food, now they have proper food security, they have production to sell, so there is no chance that they can get into poverty. Now they have better opportunities. Employment generation, so it as green revolution also helped in generating more employment because the requirement was more. Okay, the requirement of manual labor was more. So it generated more employment. Now there were some drawbacks as well in this modern farming techniques. Modern, basically, green revolution is known as the modern farming technique. So let's understand what were the drawbacks of the modern farming techniques. Very first drawback is the use of chemical fertilizers. Now, growing of HYV seeds, there was requirement of using for chemical fertilizers which pollute land and other resources like water, groundwaters, and lakes. So, using chemical fertilizers uh, we have invited pollutants into our natural resources. Okay, so this was first point. Using chemical fertilizers pollutes our natural resources. Okay, second point here is now continuous use of fertilizers in states like Punjab, which has reduced soil's health, means that soil health have been reduced. Now it increasingly requires more fertilizer to maintain the health. Okay, to maintain soil health. To maintain soil health and to maintain the production level as well. Okay, so that so thus the increase the cost of production. So this has led to increasing the cost of production, because now there are more things that require fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, proper irrigation, pesticides. Okay, so this has increased the cost, which is the second point. Now, third point is the amount of water usage is dip, uh, depleting the water table, because the amount of water it requires is comparatively quite high. Okay. Next, our next topic in this is distribution of farming land in Palampur. Now, how land is distributed in Palampur? Not all people in Palampur are engaged in agriculture. So people follow different activity has as well, and not there is no sufficient land for people to participate in agriculture as well. So let's understand how how land is distributed in Palampur. Okay. So majorly land is distributed in three forms. First is for 150 family Dalit, which do not have land. They are landless farmers. They works on other people land. Second, 240 families. This comes as you can call it as middle class people, which has like more than 2 hectare of land, and they are looking for other jobs as well. Now, there are 60 families of medium and large land which have over 10 hectares of land. Okay, so they have over 10 hectares of land. So there are total 60 families of medium and large lands. So that's how land is being distributed in Palampur. Yes, now we'll talk about farm labors in Palampur. What are farm labors? Okay, so now the referring to the category one we have studied in the previous slide, which are landless families. So landless families, or the families which have very small land, it is that small that they can only grow seeds for themselves, and maybe it is not enough. So these are landless families, or landless workers, landless or have small land and work as farm laborers. They work on other farm as farm laborers. So they do not grow their own. They do not grow uh, own on their own land, or they do not grow their own crop. Okay, but they are being paid on the basis of wages, or in cash or in kind. In cash, as in whenever they work. In Hindi, we call it they get dihadi. एक दिन की दिहाड़ी, 2 दिन की दिहाड़ी when they work. It's in English, it's called wages. So they work as pages. For example, they get per day, per hour. Okay, and other is in kind. So if you work, so they used to have contract with this big landowners. So if they used to work in their land, they used to get sometimes not cash. They used to get kind. So kind is basically other materialistic thing. It can be crop, it can be anything that they require. Okay, apart from cash. Okay, so so they work with medium or large land. Okay, large land farmers. So large land or medium land hire such laborers. So they hire farm laborers. Okay, now wages of farm laborers. In So the wages vary in in various region. So wages are very different. Okay, so it is related to activity that they do and crop that they grow. Okay, for example, sowing and harvesting have different wage. Cultivating of rice and wheat have different wage. Okay, so that depends. There's not a single standard wages that is set for everyone. It used to depend. Okay. Second thing about farm labor is their duration of work. Now, all the duration might not be hired for full year. So it used to be on contractual basis as well. They used to be hired, they may be, sometimes hire on particular activity base. So whenever there is a period of sowing, then they harvest farm labor. And when there is a period of harvesting, so there is obviously requirement of more people, then they hire farm laborers. Okay, so it depends upon duration of work. Next thing is competition. Now, very important. There is heavy competition for work among farm laborers. Okay, so for farm laborers, there were heavy competition in Palampur, this has led them to accept to work in minimum wages, because if they ask for high wages, they demand high wages. So the person might take another farm labor, but not them. So they have to work for their living as well. So they used to accept minimum wages which is set by the government, um, because of the heavy competition, because of because of their high population. Okay, so let's study this in detail by the data. So the latest data available says they work on minimum wages set by government, but the labor of villages get only 160. So the minimum wages that was set by the government is rupees 362, but what they used to get is just 160 rupees. This is due to the heavy competition among farmers. The number of farmers, farm farmers were there. Okay. Next is capital needed in farming. Now, obviously, there was some investment that was required in farming. Okay, so there were many equipments, raw material, and money which is required for farming. And if you move to modern techniques, the need for capital has increased, because it also required then pesticides, proper machinery, and other equipments and tools. Okay, so capital arrangement vary and were fulfilled in very different ways. Okay, so capital arrangement are fulfilled in different ways by different farmer. Now let's understand what are the ways and what through which capital requirement was fulfilled. Okay, so people follow their own method. So first we will talk about small scale farmers. So small farmers, how they used to arrange their capital. Okay, so they arrange their capital from borrowing money. Okay, so they used to borrow from non-institutional sources like big farmer. They cannot go to bank directly to for a loan. Okay, because there is no surety if they will be able to pay the loan back, right? So small farmers used to go to big farmers for money purpose. So they used to ask for money, and the interest rate that was charged by money lenders and traders were usually very high. It was so high that it make it difficult for small farmers to pay back the money, leading them to a debt trap. They used to go under loan and loan. Okay, so this was the arrangement which is being done by small farmers. um Second, we have capital arrangement by middle or large farmers. Now, how they arrange their money. Majorly, medium and large farmers have their own saving. Okay, they have their own saving, and they borrow from institution like banking. Okay, where interest rate is low. Okay, small farmers used to buy from non-institutional source, but medium farmer one, they most of the time they have their own savings. If not, they used to borrow it from uh, uh, institutional source like bank, where interest rate is low. Okay, if you don't know interest rate is the amount that a lender asks a borrower, okay, in return of paying the money back. So it's just the amount that they ask. Okay, so they are so it is very easy for medium or large farmers to arrange the capital that they needed, or the investment that they needed for their bank. Yes, our next topic is sale for surplus farm products. So there is a sale for surplus farm products, which are, I hope you understand what is surplus money. As I've explained, um, surplus is the extra that one get. Okay, it can be extra crop, it can be extra yield production. So it is the extra production. Okay, so farmers majorly retain a part of production for their own usage. Okay, farmers keep the part of production for their own usage first. Small farmers majorly, they do not have production surplus, because it is whatever they grow, it will just be enough for their families. But medium and large farmers often have surplus production. Okay, so they sell their crop in the market through their surplus. Okay, whatever surplus they have, they sell their crop in the market, and from selling that they get money, so they save them and invest them in equipments that they require for more production, which is like truck machines, etc. Also, they're also able to lend money to small farmers, so they used to get a good amount of earning. So I hope this surplus part and every part discussed in the video is clear to you. um, I will now continue the chapter in the next video.